That's why we fade away. Here again, you told me you just wanna be friends, so I act like I don't understand. Go ahead now, be the man. Let's pretend I don't know about your little plans. Look so cute and innocent, but you're as lost as Peter Pan. Could drop the bomb instead. I told you whenever you need me, just call if you want to. 'Cause hey, that's what friends supposed to say. Minute after minute we fade, and I don't even know what's next. Watch me turning tides, now open your eyes to fade. So we fade. Minute after minute we fade, and I don't even know what's next. Got nothing to say, 'cause your face is fake. That's why we fade away. Here we go, finally some rock and roll. Except that you're just a sinking stone, too hard to stay in control anymore. You got no good, and that's your problem. I know you guess there's no other guy, but still wanna be my friend. I dropped the bomb, you said what's wrong, babe? Scary how you still try to smile and deny it. Yeah, I'm sure your dad still thinks you're great. Minute after minute we fade, and I don't even know what to say. I got nothing to say, 'cause your face is fake. That's why we fade. Minute after minute we fade, and I don't even know what to say. I got nothing to say, 'cause your face is fake. That's why we fade away.
Hello again. I'm going to yak at you today about the EPZ Q1 Pro. Comes in this box, just like that. Pretty simple. Earbuds in there, some ear tips underneath, a little 4-core SPC cable. Now, it also comes in a USB-C, and I have both. And I would highly suggest you pay a couple bucks more and get the USB-C version. But if you don't already have, if this is your only earbud, then obviously you could buy it with 3.5 or you could buy it with USB-C. But the USB-C is pretty standout. Plug it right into your phone. It's super efficient enough that you're not going to have to worry about driving it off a dongle, though it would sound better if you did so. Anyway, moving on. Let's go right into sound signature. I'm a huge fan of this one. I'll tell you straight off the bat. And later in the video, I'm going to also compare it against the SIMGOT EA500 LM. Now, and the ZIIGAAT Nuo. Just so you know. Now, don't come out with the pitchforks, but I'll tell you straight off the bat, having an 500 LM and having the Q1 sitting beside me, I will pick up the Q1 Pro any day of the week, and I'll tell you why. It all comes down to personal preferences. At the beginning of the video, I kind of explained some of the music I listen to. I'm going to now update it as well with some of my favorite IEMs, so you get a better idea of the things that I like IEM wise as well. So, and it might give you a better idea of why I recommend the things that I recommend or don't. So let's start off right now with a little bit about this bad boy. So it's under $37 US, first of all. Okay, that's huge. I never did get a chance to hear the original EPZ Q1. This is the Q1 Pro, and I heard the Q1 was pretty laid back as well. So it has a single 10 millimeter dual cavity, dual magnetic LCP diaphragm with a PU surround, polyurethane, which basically means it's rubber. Now, its sound signature, super clean. I really like the bass lines on this IM. They're smooth. They transition nicely, and I'll pull up a graph here. And you can see that. The impact is nice, and when there is sub bass, it is not afraid to play low. This is not a bass head IM. Because the pinna rises above the bass, and the bass shelf isn't massive, but what bass is there is quality and organic sounding. Now into the mids, it's fairly flat mids, like 200 hertz to say 800 hertz. It's pretty flat. That translates to nice, clean mids and vocals. They sound natural. Piano sounds natural. Though I found, because if there was a bit more weight in the mid bass, I thought piano and cello could sound a little bit more full, right? Have a bit more note weight to it. But they weren't off, and male vocals sounded good. But again, I wish I had a little bit more of the lower stuff going on. That's about my only wish list, I guess, on the mids. The pinna gain, again, really nice. It's not one of these taken off ramps. Starts around 1K, rises to about 4.5 where it peaks out. Has a nice sibilance dip. So yes, it does have some upper mid energy, but it also, when it gets into the treble, it starts to dip down, and it still has extension past 10K. So in a single dynamic driver, this is pretty good. It's excellent tuning. The highs are clean. They're detailed. They're not sibilant. They're not sharp because of that dip at 6 to 7K. So quite well-tuned I am. Here's the thing about the Q1 that I said as soon as I put him in. There is something about whatever the hell they did with this IM in its stage. It's, yeah. So at first, when I first started listening to this, I had it on my Shanling M8. And then I switched over to, I'm testing also one of the EPZ dongles, a couple of them. And that's how I was listening to the TP50, and it has some filters and stuff like that too. It's a really cool piece. I'm going to do a review on that. And I was listening to the M8, and I switched over to the M8, and it almost had this kind of reverberation in some songs that was so stand out, different, that from other IMs that I've listened to. And I've got some bangers for stage. The Plunge Audio Unity, the Twilight, phenomenal, right? But this thing is amazingly 3D, and it was really hard to describe, but it put a huge grin on your face when you're listening in the way it presents stage. And I thought for a while there, and I kept checking on the M8, and I was like, do I have like this TFO Evo spatializer function going on? Is it adding some kind of, effect? And it's not. It was off, and it's this IM that's doing it. So it has, and this is the thing compared, and we'll talk about the SIMGOT 500 LM, the newest, best. So not only does this thing stage crazy with amazing depth and width and height, for any dollar value, for any IM, not alone an under $50 IM, it's simply unheard of. To talk about some track impressions now, Do It, like from Ray Morris. The bass pulls low, and it has amazing vocals. So it's one of the things on this IM that I really gravitated towards, was it had upper mid energy, but it didn't have it forced. And I'll talk about that when I get to the 500 LM versus. Now, also, Keith, Don't Go. So I'm going to use this track by Niels Lofgren, and I use this track for resolution, and I use it for spatial clues and stage. So the Q1 Pro has amazing resolution. It really does. Micro details, the bass on the guitar. When he's hitting the side of the guitar, I wish it had a bit more thump, and that's just a little bit in the mid bass lean, but you can get it, and it sounds correct. But once you hear it on another IM that has a little bit more heft on the bottom end, you kind of pick it up a bit more. But that's being just super picky. That's it. This is critical listening. This is picking this apart. This is what it's not doing correct. And this isn't talking about just kicking back. And that's the way I listened to the set for the first, I don't know, 5-6 listening sessions with the USB-C off of my phone. And I was playing some, on Spotify, I was playing, it wasn't even high res, it was playing indie frequency channel. And I was just grooving with it, honestly. Now here's an interesting, let's do a bit of comparisons to when you're listening to some tracks versus the EA 500 and the ZIIGAAT Nuo. Now, SIMGOT 500 LM is $81, best price so far that I've seen. So that is over double. Take that into consideration. I'll tell you straight off the bat, doing these comparisons, the 500 LMs, the pitchforks don't come out, is a more resolving IM. The bass is definitely more standout. But listening to the two side by side, the 500 LM on Ghost Halsey, one mic, one take, right? Super analytical. You can hear the piano on the 500 LM has a slight edge tonality wise. Piano does sound better, and that's because of the lower note weight, the more energy that the 500 LM puts over. So that's why the piano is going to sound better on the LM. Vocals they sound more mid forward on the SIMGOT. And listening to the two with this track and her vocals, I like the vocals better on the Q1 Pro than I did with the SIMGOT 500 LM. They're smoother. They have less edge to them. I'll put it that way. And then I threw the Nuo in there. And while this one is good, it doesn't have the resolution and the details of either the Q1 or the LM. Piano had the least weight, and vocals they sound a bit off compared to the other two in tonality wise. And that's not, and I raved also about the Nuo. And I'm going to start talking about it at this point because it is so outclassed by these other two. Though it's a fantastic IM, But again, I think it's around the same price as this this Q1 Pro. So it's out. It was good. It's out. It's gone. Because there's unless you wanted no you. How do I politically put this? It's just a less resolving, less. It's not as good for the same pricing. What kind of man? Florence and the Machine. So again, the Nuo sounds reserved in the vocals. That's the way it sounds compared to the other two. It's holding back, and because it's a flatter frequency response, it's less dynamic, less micro details. When something is transitioning into the song, and there's a very soft passage, and then there's a very loud passage, it plays it, but it doesn't play it to that excitement level that the other two do to. I think more correctly, right? Now, the Q1, it plays this track super open, super clean, super clear vocals, and way more exciting than the new. I mean, between the two, and you take one out and you put one in and you go, no, this is, I would way rather listen to this one. It's more exciting. It sounds better. The ZIIGAAT Nuo sound low res. The Q1 Pro sounds high res in comparison. Now the LM next level in resolution. Absolutely, that driver is fantastic. You can hear in this track where she breathes into the mic, and yes, you can get that with the Q1 Pro. It's very, very good on the SIMGOT, the way the LM presents this thing. And the bass hits significantly harder, more energy in there. Here's a graph of the two, right? So the 500 LM versus the Q1 Pro. Though they're not too far off, and this is always the weird thing about the SIMGOTs, and I know what it is, and it's that metal shell. The metal shell is adding to the heft of the bottom end that the resin cavity of the Q1 Pro doesn't have. So that is, I think, the difference between these two. Now, this was interesting. Solo por ti, Amiwana. From the Gypsy Kings. Stage and depth. This is one of my tracks to judge stage and depth. Now, there is, and I will find out what instrument it is, but I don't know what it is. And it starts off in the track, and as it goes along, and it's playing to lower right, and then it moves to your left, and it's higher and more forward. And then it goes back to, and I don't know if somebody's switching, like it's down here, right? And then they switch off and they're playing up here or something like that. I don't know. Oh, by the way, I switched my camera to ultra wide mode, and I haven't done this in the past because, well, I thought I'd look too fat doing it. I'll be honest. So if I look like I put on weight, it's because I use the ultra wide lens. There's a comment about that. I can. Anyway, so Q1 stage width, depth, and height kills on this track. Clearly depth-wise and height. Like where the 500 LM, you could hear the switch of the hands, and it sounded slightly more forward. The Q1 Pro presented that like somebody was putting that instrument close to your face and playing it that way. There was that much depth, and that is one of the hardest things to do in an IM. Not the width is easy, I think, because you got one left and one right? So, but it's the depth that's really interesting. How you can get a sense of that kind of depth in a track, where if you're playing I was playing some Oscar Peterson, right, some jazz, and again it sounds like you're sitting in a little cafe and they're playing in front of you, and I've had this experience, and where the bassist is closer to you, and the piano, somebody's playing piano behind, and you get a really good, and then that kind of translates down to your overall kind of, I think if you can make it sound more in a 3D space, you just kind of melt away. And that has to do at the end. We'll talk about musicality wise. So how did the LM play with this track? So I mean, more vocal forward so while it's more resolving in instruments wise, they get pushed to the back. The instruments get pushed to the back, and the vocals are really coming forward. I think overall, between these two replays, the Q1 does a way better presentation. It's more natural. The vocals are smoother and sounds less forced. It sounds more organic. It really does. Let's switch tracks to a little Lux Eterna by Metallica. I want to listen to the fast kicks. Q1, smooth, wicked vocals. Bass is super organic. Love it. You put the LM in, and bass is wicked. Like, yeah, way more resolving on drums again. Vocal wise, I take the Q1, but the LM kills this song. Like, it's so rock electric. Let's go to another Metallica song, "You Must Burn," from the same album. And again, I was trying to get just a sense of, and all these tracks are critical listening, okay? So the LM, big bass hits, cymbal strikes, very, very sweet definition. And where the Q1 Pro has less bass, but it has a bigger decay in the bass, so it sounds more natural. They're thicker note weights. Although it's less bass, I think it's more quality bass, and there's not a knock against the LM. It's just the way that this driver of the Q1 Pro, I like the texture of it more. It's maybe not as fast, but it's more organic sounding. Now, when you dial this up, and I'm using, by the way, the gold nozzles with the red ring on it. It's like they're probably their tamest on the SIMGOT 500 LM. It makes my ears ring at volumes. And that was always some of the problems for SIMGOT for me and many, many others, is that upper mids is just a lot, too much for me. Anyway, and I threw the Nuo back in just to listen to it. It takes a step back, a more laid back, more reserved playback. It's still really nice. It's a great IAM too. But when you listen to the Q1 and you listen to the SIMGOT, I mean, it's like next level. It really is. Flux by Ellie Goulding, I'm trying to listen to. I love my female vocals. The SIMGOT plays great vocals, phenomenal vocals, because of that extra energy up top. But it presents almost a bit. It does. It presents vocal forward. So where again instruments are taking a bit of a step back, less flat response, more colored. Whereas the Q1 Pro, in my opinion, clearly has better vocals. They're smoother. They're more natural. They're more organic. Bigger stage, definitely. At a bigger sense of space, venue-wise. Playing some EDM Last Time by Labyrinth. So the Q1, for me, is an EDM IM. Because it has the bass, and it has lots of energy up top, but it's not sibilant. And when I want to play EDM loud, it does it for me. It doesn't make my ears ring. It's more balanced than the 500 LM. The bass is fantastic on this SIMGOT. It's definitely the most resolving, but it has the most intense upper mids, and it's just honestly too much for me. Unless I put at least a 500 level filter on the nozzle, it's just too much for me with this IM, and I'll talk about that. The remix of Adore You by Miley Cyrus. Now, I think this is my last musical track, and then I'll just get into my conclusion. The LM for me, and in this track, there's a lot of, in this mix, there's a lot of high frequency information, and it pans right to left, left to right, right to left, you know what I mean. It'll keep going. And it's simply, for the SIMGOT, it's simply too much. At lower volumes, okay. Mid volumes, okay. But anything past mid volume, it is simply just too much information for me, and my ears start ringing. So that's how these three kind of presented. Now, I should have also mentioned at the beginning my configuration, and that's I'm using this for single dynamic drivers. I haven't found a better cable than this XINHS Gold and SPC cable. It adds a bit of thickness to vocals, especially in male, lower mids, and gives a really nice controlled upper. And I'll put a link to this in the description as well. It's a terrific cable, especially for single dynamic drivers. It's my go-to. For my ear tips, I used Osla crystal tips, and that was my choice for this configuration. And sources wise, I didn't think it mattered too much, but I definitely liked it on a warmer source like the AKMs or my Shanling M8. It was also absolutely standout on their dongle, their Cirrus Logic dongle. I love that thing. I didn't even know they existed. So, in fact, I liked it better on that dongle than I did my Ibasso DX170. Anyway, just to conclude, SIMGOT 500 LM is the reference standard single DD under a lot of money, right? It is a fantastic IM. Where it's too much for me is those upper mids. Still, I wish they just, and again, some people love that, and for me, it's just too much. Okay, the EPZ Q1 Pro, it's less than half its price. It hits about 90% of the technicalities, but it does 140% of the staging versus the 500 LM. It's more musical. It's smoother on the vocals. It has less upper mids. It's less shouty. I can play it louder. I wish it had the bass shelf of the... if they ever put this driver in a metal shell, it would kill. So I wish it had the bass shelf of the 500 LM, but I'm perfectly happy with it as. I have other IMs that I can listen to that has bass. So, and that's the thing. This is a banger, an absolute banger of an IM with a killer stage, and great tonality, and a well-tuned IM for under $40. And again, if you want some more versatility, buy it with the USB-C cable option. I think that would be really good. But I just like the musicality of this IM. Combine the musicality of it, the less shoutiness over the 500 LM, and for my preferences, having the two side by side, I don't pick up the 500 LM. After my review, honestly, it sits in my box as a compare to, right? Because that is the reference standard for in this price bracket that all these guys are trying to get to. But enjoyment wise, musicality wise. You're just when you just want to listen to music and you don't want to think about how well it does these technical details or you know what I mean? You just want to chill, you want to relax and listen to the music and let the music take you. The Q1 devastates it, in my opinion, for enjoyment factor for me. Where I kept finding, and I have some other IMs that I'm supposed to be listening to because they're shared within our group, like the Canera Imperial Verdandi. But I keep wanting to reach for this IM because it does something special in that stage and that space. And I guess this is the overall package, right? It's the overall package of musicality, technical details, outstanding stage, small, very comfortable shells. I don't know. Put it all together and you got a winner chicken dinner. That's the name of the video, actually. I just thought of it right now.